You see, the secular lines and spiritual lines are pretty much same, but they depart in 2-3 areas. We need to be cognizant of that fact. Otherwise, we'll mix these two. We never had that mixing, okay, in India, ever. There was no problem between science and spirituality, ever. To an extent that great astronomers were called rishis and celebrated so. Great doctors like Susruta were celebrated as rishis, you see. The same acharya we had to Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, Adi Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya. That acharya we have given to people who are mathematicians, because we never had a problem between science and spirituality. In our Upanishads, they talk about everything as knowledge, vidya. And the vidya is 2 types. One is an outward vidya, which is the vidya of natural sciences outside. Anything which is mind and beyond the mind is called aparAvidya. And that which deals with the origin of thought and consciousness is called parAvidya. So our Upanishad says both are vidya, both need to be revered, both have their own place in our life, and both need not be mixed. I don't have to present spirituality in scientific language. Why should I? Would you appreciate if I try to teach you physics with, as a religious side of it? It won't be nice, na? You teach these subjects in its own way, because each has their own limitations. There is a start and end of each subject. Anything which is originating from intellect and beyond is all called aparAvidya, which means these are called natural sciences. That which is beyond intellect, as Sri Aurobindo beautifully terms it in English, supra-intellectual stuff is all called parAvidya, which is what we call spiritual. So here our Veda Mata very beautifully talks about 2 types of knowledge. Everything is vidya, even the word science means knowledge. And our religious books are called Vedas. It comes from the root word called vid, which also means knowledge. But then in India, our knowledge had 2 dimensions. One is the actual intellectual knowledge, which means I know. And then there is a higher state of knowledge, which is I am, you see. One is a self-evident knowledge, and other one is a knowledge which we get by studying things apart from myself. In science, we should be taught the way we are taught actually. Science progresses in proper proof and objective knowledge. But remember, spirituality is subjective knowledge, which is the knowledge about the subject, which is who I am and what that universal consciousness, we call it Paramatma, and I am called Jivatma. For time being, let us get those words clear. What is the relationship between me and that which is universal? All that is subjective knowledge. So the way in which education should progress should be in opposite directions, because they are actually opposite, not subject and object. So objective knowledge should progress not just by faith, it should progress by proof, evidence, you see. And nothing should be accepted without evidence. That's how science should be there. Science teacher should not say, hey, trust me, this is how it works. You need to show evidence, you need to convince people, you see. But in spirituality, it is exact opposite. In science, you first see and then you believe, you see. Why? Because it is something which can be caught by the intellect. Now in spirituality, we are questioning the very structure of intellect itself. And when you have that, you cannot go by evidence, because evidence is manufactured by the intellect. So the difference is very simple. Religion deals with truth and science deals with facts. The connection between truth and fact is, facts are nothing but truth distilled through the medium or portals of our 5 indriyas, or the 5 organs of knowledge. What I see, what I feel, what I touch, what I smell, and what I hear. You see, so facts are nothing but truth distilled through these 5 senses, which sits in the intellect. But if I have to go beyond that, I can't sit with only the facts, isn't it? So I need to look at something which is far greater than facts, which is the truth. And for me to get into this adventurous journey of trying to explore the truth, I need to do the reverse of how I am getting educated for external sciences, which is, I need to first have Shraddha, because I am entering into an unknown. Spirituality is a very adventurous journey. Our Upanishad says spirituality is only for the brave, you see. For people who are little concerned to even walk in the dark, dark is unknown. Spirituality is not the place for them. Adinalda, when you all chanted Sahasranama, Bhagavan Vishnu has a name called Avijñata, you see, which means that who cannot be known, you see. Why? Because it is not in the Drishtam at all, Bhagavan. And so that is the reason why our Veda Mata very beautifully says that there are things which you can yourself find out and figure out. And you can use your own sense organs, you can use whatever we are being gifted with as an intellect. Using these, you can figure out a lot of things in the world, but there are some things which you need a little help to figure out experientially. And that is why Vedas are there. So then our Veda Mata says that when the mind is completely silenced, these rishis are supposed to go into an experience. They call it Samadhi. And in that Samadhi, what happens is they see something beyond. That's why these people are called seers in English. In Sanskritam, in Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, they are called rishis, which means they see something beyond. And now they have this wonderful ability to distill their experience in words. Can you believe this? How we translate mental activity into words, which makes other person understands that. When I say I saw you in my dream, that person understands. It's not through the eyes. And because that person also dreamed, so that person understands how that person could have seen it. You see? And that's why Tulsidas Goswamiji says, dream I can make you understand. State of completely silent mind in deep sleep I can make you understand. Why? Because you have experienced, I have experienced. Suppose a person never tasted anything sweet. How will you explain sweetness to them? Forget spirituality and all that. Simple experience of a taste. He has never tasted sweet. And then you said, I had an ice cream yesterday. It was so sweet. What is sweet? Is it like bitter? Is it sour and bitter together? What is it? Open your mouth. You see, put some sugar in the mouth. And that is why Tulsidas Goswamiji says, So hai akat kahani. There are many stories which cannot be spoken. And only when you get into that state, you will understand. That is the reason why these Mahatmas, they dare to actually put that experience of consciousness to the plane of Shabdam. You see. And they were able to see it and they were able to tell that. And to read it, first of all, we can't understand. Why? Because I have not experienced it. So what I do is, I first look at the Rishi. What was he? Was he sitting in the throne? Was he having a nice court, having good food, etc.? Nothing. He was eating only fruits. He was eating roots. And he was walking in the forest, completely fasting. Life of sacrifice. First I accept the person. Then I accept the message of the person. And then I said, okay, that person seems to be compassionate. He seems to be truly caring about the welfare of the whole human race. And so what he or she, there are some rishis on both genders. Like Gargi was a rishi in the Sabha of our Janaka Maharaja, who was a peer of our Yajnavalkya rishi. And she debated Yajnavalkya in the Sabha. So there are some rishis of all genders there, of all ages. So when I look at the rishi, I realize that he or she truly cares for humankind. And first I accept that rishi, and then I start accepting what the rishi spoke. And the rishi says, this is not what I have imagined, this is what I have seen, I am just telling you. Without any taint of my own opinions. So here, our Veda Mata is saying, these are the rishis who sort of tuned into that samadhi and told these things. And these are all called mantras. And they tried to actually take us slowly to that state which they were in. You see, how they do that is, first we have to accept that first. Otherwise, how can I even start the journey? This is the exact the way in which you all came to Australia also, I bet. First time you have to take a flight and come to Australia. How did you take that decision? You might have heard about Australia first. Somebody whom you trusted, somebody whom you knew, and they somehow came here for a work or whatever. They say Brisbane is a lovely town. Honey and milk flows in the roads of Brisbane. And is it? Yeah, very beautiful. Lot of trees and lovely little rabbits with their hands raised and jumping here and there. They call them kangaroo. I see. All right. And then you say, is it good? What are the prospects for me? Fantastic prospects. Europe chodo, Bharat chodo, ajao. And as you keep listening about the positive qualities of Australia, you have decided to take this big step into the unknown. You are not actually landed in Australia. You have not smelled the air of Australia, right? You have not tasted the water of Australia. Yet we all decided at some point of time we need to go there. How? Because of what is called as somebody whom we trusted. We trusted that person. We trusted the words of that person. That's how we took that adventure, and you are all thriving, flourishing. You see, and that person in Sanskritam is called apta. You see, apta means somebody who really cares for my well-being. And the person's message is called Vakyam. So, what we call as Vedas is called Apta Vakyam, which means they have seen something which I have not seen. Like your friends would have seen Australia, I have not seen it. Maybe you saw it in video, you saw it in TV. But generally we don't take a decision seeing some TV. Na? Somebody would have actually told us that it is good. So, I trusted that person. Shraddha came first, experience came next. Likewise, when we have to go beyond the known, first comes Shraddha. In the person who is telling us there is something beyond what you see. It is your true self, you see. And that self also has a wonderful name and form. It also has something called Kripa. It also can be very compassionate. All that you listen. I can't understand. Because until I experience, I can't understand. So first I believe, I walk the path so that it leads me to an experience, which is an opposite direction we generally take when we read social sciences or sciences outside, which is how even India's educated both these sciences. The way in which it educated science was different. The way in which it educated spirituality was different. And then sometime, I think 300 years back, or 500 years back or 600 years, some problem came between religious organizations and scientists. And then now, which was a beautiful complementary sciences of spirituality and science have now become poles apart. So, science is there in our Vedas, I am not saying, but that's not why Vedas are there. That is, scientists will take care, na? By their own observations and by their own geniuses of their intellect, they will take care. Vedas talk about something more, which science cannot fill. And that is what is called Bhakti, Jnana and Vairagya. These are the three wonderful cornerstones of our spiritual education, which we call Veda.